It is what it is, it is what it is. Cause we're going 10 for 10 for 10 for 10. We're going 10 for 10 for 10 for 10. We're going 10 for 10 for 10. We're going 10 for 10 for 10 for 10. We're going 10. Look what I did. I know I got to convince.
I mean, just to walk in here and see all these fans supporting us is unreal.
That's all you try to do is go out there and focus and do your job and just keep making one pitch at a time.
We on our way to the top, yeah, yeah, yeah. We on our way to the top, yeah, yeah, yeah. They gotta sit back and watch, yeah, yeah, yeah. We on our way to the, we on our way to the, yeah, we on our way to the top.
Look, make sure you mention my name with the greats. Whole lot of talk, but it ain't no debate. We light it up like we causing an accident, but it ain't no mistake. Seat at the table, I carry the weight. They want the beef, so we hire the steaks. Bust in the kitchen and fire the chef.
We on our way to the top, yeah, yeah, yeah. We on our way to the.
We can't be the guys that's gonna be timid and not knowing what's going on. You play hard, you play together. I mean, that's all we ask.
This is what we all have to do.
Be locked in, focus, just be disciplined, all right?
Now I feel like Kyrie, I'ma have to take the shot. If they tryna call me dog, I gotta hit the block. Started from the bottom, but we made it to the top. And I told them time is money, that's why I don't ever stop. I got my bad hoodie with a rollie on, eating pasta like Corleone. I don't got time for no fake boy. If you got the money, gon' show me some. I got 2 whips and I'm self-paid. Never got help, bro, I'm self-made. Started from the bottom, but we made it to the top. And I told them time is money, that's why I don't ever stop. Hey, what up, say? Home up in the studio, said I'm locked in. My stock going way up, I got options. Yeah, they fine, but stop playing, you not him. Wait, the numbers going up.
You got 8 seconds to prove you're worth the price of admission. And you got Baylor Scott and White Health along for the ride. So square up. You got this.
MCC has definitely benefited me most on not only what I want to do, but who I aspire to be. Expect every professor to help you become who you want to be and more. Create your own success at MCC.
RJ's Bargain Center is your home team for appliances at unbeatable prices. From refrigerators to washers, dryers to stoves, you'll find brand new appliances with huge discounts. And just like your favorite local teams, RJ's is proud to support our community and local sports. Score your savings today at RJ's Bargain Center, 711 Lynn Street, Waco. Call 254-224-6178. RJ's Bargain Center, where big savings are always a home run.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Primetime. Jalen, Gillis here. We get ready to bring you through the primetime topics in sports, not just here locally, but from all around the nation. Hey, we want to thank everybody for tuning in with us here today on this Football Monday, kind of the last real Football Monday. The football season has officially wrapped up. Seattle Seahawks are Super Bowl champs. Of course, we'll be talking about that here today. If you haven't already, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, jump on there, click the bell so you get notified every time that we go live here and bring you more content, not only Centex Primetime, but MCC basketball in full effect as they're going through their second round of conference play. MCC softball and baseball have both started their seasons this past weekend. Softball started a couple of weekends ago. Baseball had their debut weekend this past weekend. Both teams look really good. Both teams off to a strong start here today. So make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, click that bell so you can catch all of our content here. We've got a lot to talk about here today, folks. Like I said, the Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Seahawks win the Super Bowl. They beat New England 29-13. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some hot topics, what's going on around the world. We'll talk a little bit of basketball as well today. We'll talk about Baylor struggling through conference. They're off to their worst start in conference play since 2005, I believe, since Scott Drew took over. So we'll talk a little bit about some Baylor basketball as well today. We'll talk about a little bit of college basketball. We'll talk about North Carolina getting the win, the buzzer beater over Duke in there. We'll talk about Clint Kubiak taking over, getting that Raiders job after the Seahawks win yesterday. So a few different topics we're going to jump into today. So we're going to get right into it, folks. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in with us. Joining me here back in the studio, we got most famous man in Waco, Mr. Rocky Miller, in the building with his finally wrapped up football season, man. It's officially come to an end.
Man, yeah, man. It's a tough time of year, man.
Yeah,
you mourn the end of the football season, and you try to kick it back up into gear and get into basketball. You know, I'm a LeBron fan, so that's a tough watch right now.
Yeah.
But it got better the other day now that Luka is hurt, I get a chance to see the king being the king.
Yep.
And so that's always good. And man, and all those husbands out there can get back on that honeydew list.
For real. Can't use football as an excuse no more, fellas. You better get into college basketball.
You can get back on that honeydew list and make it happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those situations where some people say their husbands leave them for the football season.
Yeah.
And then they come back after the season. So I know a lot of wives and girlfriends are happy they get their husband back.
Yeah, I usually cool off kind of midway through the football season. But at the beginning of the football season, I know it's tough on my wife because I'm not paying attention to nothing. I've been watching football highlights for 5 months, probably the whole summer, since February, watching nothing but football highlights. I'm ready to actually watch some games. That first week of college football, I watch Kent State versus Marshall. It don't even matter who's playing. I watch anything. It could be South Dakota versus somebody else. I'm going to be tuned in to watch. But football season now officially wrapping up, man. It's always a bittersweet time of year. Like Rocky said, we'll jump more into basketball. We'll get some more basketball contributors up here on the show as well. Talk some more hoops, college. We'll touch on some high school here in the local area too, and we'll talk about, of course, more NBA.
And then a few more date nights.
Yeah, a lot more date nights opening up. Monday nights are free now. Saturday mornings are a lot more free. Thursday nights are free.
Yeah, you can go to brunch on Saturday.
And I want to have my phone out at the table.
Yeah. So
like
it's
this, watching the early morning game.
Hey, the preacher can take the sermons a little longer to give a more detailed explanation of what's going on, and those guys can stop clock watching.
Yeah, for real, because I'm in plenty of services where I'm going to get y'all out by the time the Cowboys play at 3:20. I'll make sure y'all out by
the thing about that is how many of them actually tell the truth about that. That's a surefire way that I understand. When they say, hey, we're going to get you out of here for that Cowboy game, that's when I say, I'm going to set me a time.
Yep, yeah, man. I grew up Church of God in Christ, man, Kojic. So if you hear somebody say, we're going to get you out by the Cowboys, it's guaranteed that you will not be out by the time the Cowboys game starts. That is how it goes. But let's jump right into it, y'all. The last football game of the season. Seattle Seahawks take out the New England Patriots 29-13. Seattle comes out with the victory in this one. They dominate the entire game. The last couple of efforts there by New England made the game look closer than it was. But for majority of the game, it was Seattle had whatever to New England had no points. Sam Darnold did not have to dominate in this game. He didn't dominate in this game, just 19 for 38, 200 yards and a touchdown. But what he did was what he's done all postseason, which is not turn the ball over. Sam Darnold goes the entire postseason without a turnover, playing just good football. It wasn't hero ball. He didn't have to throw for 400 yards every game, but when they needed him in the big games, like against the Rams, he did show up and throw for 300-plus yards in games. So he did enough for his team to win. Kenneth Walker dominated this game, 27 carries, 135 yards in this game. Also chipped in with a few catches as well. Cooper Kupp had a solid game. Well, shout out to him, man. I picked that on my parlay that did cash this weekend.
That's about the only wide receiver
that did anything.
Came through, yeah.
I knew New England's motto is we're going to take away the number one. I was seeing Jackson Smith and Jigba, his numbers going up to 8.5 catches on some betting sites. Some people were 80 yards. I'm like, New England's whole mantra is we're going to take away the number one. If we don't do anything else, the number one's not going to get off. And they stayed true to that. So Cooper Kupp, 6 catches for 60 yards. This is a defensive ball game, though. It was just 9-0 at halftime. Both defenses played pretty well in the first half. By the second half, New England's offense really just put their defense in too bad a situation for them to hold up. Seattle was able to take advantage each and every time. New England turned the ball over 3 times. Drake May, 27 for 43. I should have took that over on passing attempts. I think his was like 30.5. Should have took the over on that. That would have been an easy cash. But 2 touchdowns, 2 picks in this game. Got sacked 6 times in this game. I don't know what the record is. Maybe I'll look that up for most times getting sacked in the playoffs. But I think he's probably got to be right up there for the most. The Texans hit him 4 or 5 times. Got sacked 4 or 5 times versus the Broncos. Got sacked 6 times in this game. New England's offense didn't do anything. I think it was a mixture of, that's just my opinion, I think it was a mixture of bad play calling on the offensive side of the ball. Not necessarily just bad, but very vanilla play calling. Nothing to try to stretch the field. Nothing too spectacular. Didn't go for it on any fourth. Even a situation where it's 4th and 1. I'm like, okay, now, Vrabel, you can go for it at least once. They're sending the punt unit out there each and every time. And then also a mixture of New England just, I don't want to sound like a hater. They just really weren't that good. They beat 3 teams, I think, in the regular season with the winning record. Had the easiest strength of schedule in the entire NFL. Played a Houston team that the quarterback went AWOL and threw 4 picks and had an interception. Played a Denver team with a backup QB in a snowstorm and won that game 10-7. With fair conditions out there for the Super Bowl, playing against a pretty decent offense, not a great offense, but a pretty decent offense. New England just wasn't able to match up in this game, and it really showed. I think they were outcoached, and I think they were outplayed, and I definitely think they were out-physicaled in this game. From the start of the game, man, Seattle was coming out there hitting. Ernest Jones, Nicky Manwari, Devin Witherspoon, everybody was hitting like they knew it was the last game of the season. So Seattle just dominated in all phases, man. Special teams, everything. They kicked 3 field goals to start the game off. Special teams played good. Offense played well enough to win. Defense played well enough to win. Rock, what do you think about Seattle dominating pretty much the whole game against the Patriots?
Well, I want to also say this. I want to say that Seattle's defense dominated, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought New England's defense made a really good showing for themselves, and had they been able to have just a competent offense, they could have really made some noise. I want to recognize Gonzalez, man, Christian Gonzalez. He played sensational, and really, early on in the game, really kind of kept the New England in the game.
He did.
I don't know why Sam Darnold kept throwing at him, but
everybody on the field.
Yeah, he could have found something else to do with his time. But you also, and I'll say this, I didn't think Sam Darnold was very sharp in the beginning of the game. I just think he benefited from having a running back that was hot, man. He came out the gate hot. Kenneth Walker came out the gate hot. He was able to see it. He was able to find it. He was bouncing it. He was cutting it back. He was the one player that the moment definitely was not too big for him. He came out looking very prepared, and so I think Seattle's defense also benefited from that as well, because whenever you can run the ball, you always stay fresh as a defense, And so and when they got out there against and Drake May, he looked like a young quarterback.
He did.
And again, I think me and you talked about it off camera, is that New England benefited greatly from playing probably the weakest schedule in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why getting home field advantage is so important, because I firmly believe if they play Houston in favorable conditions.
In Houston. Think about if they play Houston in Houston.
In favorable conditions, they lose that game. And if they play Denver in favorable conditions.
Yes.
They lose that game.
Absolutely.
So I just think you were in a situation where the weather, playing in that extreme weather that they played in, kind of covered up some of the problems that they had on offense.
Mm-hmm.
We took for granted they weren't going to be able to, in that weather, no one's going to have a great offense. But they were able to limit their mistakes, and the other team, C.J. Stroud made a ton of mistakes, and then Jarrett Stidham made the fatal error of from the ball deep in his own territory. So and they just held on for the victory. To be really honest with you, I think this is the weakest Super Bowl team that's appeared in the Super Bowl since the 1985 New England Patriots that got destroyed by the Fridge and the Chicago Bears. I can't think of a team, a Super Bowl team any weaker than this team that showed up, because they just didn't look like they had much punch. When you look at how Seattle was able to run the ball on them, and then they weren't able to do anything offensively, if Sam Darnold had been on his game, this could have been 21-0 easy in the first half.
Easily. That was going to be my point. Is I'll piggyback off of what you said about the weakest Super Bowl team to make it. And I don't want to be a hater. I think this is the weakest Super Bowl matchup I've seen in a while. Usually it's one, all right, somebody's not as good, but we got Tom Brady. Or somebody's not as good, but Patrick Mahomes and these guys have been playing. I don't see, and we're going to talk about the future of these teams. I don't see either of these teams as Super Bowl contenders or a chance of getting back to the Super Bowl. And just as currently constructed, I think, unfortunately, Seattle is going to get the Super Bowl tax, which is everyone's going to get paid, and half those guys aren't going to be getting paid by your team. That's just the nature of the beast. You got to pay Witherspoon, some of these other guys, but maybe you don't keep Tariq Woolen. Kenneth Walker is up. You keep him, but maybe you don't keep somebody else. Jackson Smith and Jig was about to have to get paid. So they've got a lot of questions they've got to answer. I don't think the Seattle team was that tough. I definitely think they had a much, much tougher road to the Super Bowl than the Patriots. Patriots, I think it's everybody always says getting to the Super Bowl is a little bit of luck. I think there was a lot of bit of luck involved with the Patriots.
So here's a situation, and I'll say this with the Sam Darnold, I think got favorable matchups in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. He had teams that he had played before and had actually played well against.
Yep.
And he got a chance to play them again, and he played well again. But you can't understate that defense is flat out nasty.
Absolutely.
And so that's what, in this situation, there's only so much Darnold's going to have to do. Mm-hmm. But I will say this, and I'll go back to this. I don't know. I can't remember if it was on a Thursday night or Saturday night game. But when they played Seattle, like 2 or 3 weeks before the end of the season.
Rams in Seattle.
Yeah, that was the most important game of the year.
Yes, it was.
And them being able to pull that game out of the jaws of defeat. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
38-37 win.
That kind of sealed their season, I thought. Mm-hmm. I didn't, we left with wondering, how did Seattle pull that off? Mm-hmm. But when you go back and look at it, the reason why the Rams were up so much is because Sam Darnold had gave them a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep. And then it comes back. He just comes back.
4 picks, I think it was. 4 interception game.
He comes back and plays solid down the stretch and gets them back in the game.
2 picks in that game, yeah.
And gets them back in the game. They ultimately win the game. That game right there, I think, set them on a trajectory. They realized, and this is why I say that, they realized they can't depend on winning the games on the arm of Sam Darnold. They have to play to their defense. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like the rest of the defense played to their defense. And, of course, the championship game was not near as high scoring. And they were able to, the defense was able to impose their will on Matt Stafford and the Rams.
I think a lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes in the NFL, we'll get these runs at the end of the season. I think about the 2007 and the 2011 Giants. It's not that they didn't have the best start. And Seattle had a great start. I mean, they had the number 1 seed in the NFC. But they really got hot. They lost to the Rams, and everybody was saying, okay, we were trying to see who was better, the Rams or the Seahawks. They lose to the Rams in the middle of the season. They win the next 7 games to close out the season and take that momentum into the playoffs, including beating the Rams and including beating the 49ers, who they had to play again in the playoffs. They take out the 49ers. They take out the Rams again. and ride what ends up turning into a 10-game or a 9-game winning streak to end the season. I think sometimes in the NFL it's about who gets hot at the right time. Seattle got hot and got healthy at the right time. Guys started coming. Kenneth Walker comes back into the lineup. Jackson Smith and Jigba stayed consistent, but Cooper Kupp gets back into the lineup. Some of the guys on the defensive side of the ball get back to the lineup. They got momentum going, and they rode that momentum all the way to the Super Bowl. I definitely got to give Seattle all the credit in the world, man. Kenneth Walker becomes the first running back Super Bowl MVP since 1997 when TD won it with the Broncos after a phenomenal year he had with the Broncos. I think rushing for 2,000 yards that year. But what do we think about Walker, man, and his performance in the Super Bowl, winning that Super Bowl MVP and what that means for him, but also just for the running back position in general in the NFL?
I think I think it's a great display of how old school football still wins in this league. I go back to the coach McDonald. Even though he's a young coach, he coaches like an old soul. He manages the game. He manages the field position. He runs. His offense runs the football, and he kind of plays off of his defense. And so when you're doing that, there's no better way to play off your defense than being committed to the run game. And I commend, like I said earlier, Kenneth Walker's performance was sensational. He came to the game ready to play, and from his very first handoff, he was able to be effective. And he wasn't discouraged because he did have some no gains early on.
Yeah, he did.
But he kind of slowed down his pace and was able to read the defense and then make some really explosive runs to really which was basically their primary offense in the first half. To be honest with you, not until he hit Barner on that pass do I remember that anything other than some possession plays by Cooper Kupp. There was nothing significant in the passing game.
Nothing at all.
And but I will say this along that line, and I'll ask you this, Jalen. Is this an anomaly or a trend where defenses are sort of taking back the NFL in a sense where we had almost like a 20-year run of guys like Brady and Manning and Phillip Rivers, Breeze, and all those guys kind of dictating, offensively dictating the game. They, along with the rules that were kind of changed to make it a more offensive-minded game. Is this a game, or do you see this as a statement of defenses or back in style, or they're coming back to the fold?
I think
and where they are going to dictate who wins the championships moving forward.
I think so. I think as we see, the NFL goes in trends where we'll have the Brees and the Bradys and the Mannings just completely dominate, and then every now and then you'll see the traditional football. I think it's kind of twofold. I think if you have a transcendent talent at quarterback, it's like having Michael Jordan or LeBron on your team or Kobe on your team. Every single year you have a chance to win just because you got this guy at quarterback and he got the ball in his hand so much. But I think for everybody else, the formula is running the football and playing defense. We've seen the 49ers get to, even though they haven't won in Kyle Shanahan's tenure, you see them get to the Super Bowl 3 or 4 times based off of running the football and playing defense. You see Philadelphia sneak in and win the Super Bowl last year off of running the ball and playing defense. Seattle will sneak in. I think if you don't have, which is majority of the guys, everybody don't have, there's only 1 or 2 transcendent quarterbacks in the NFL for a 10-year stretch. Everybody else got to have a chance to win in there. We see the New York Giants, even within the Brady and Manning era, Eli was able to sneak in and win 2 Super Bowls because they were able to run the football and play defense, and Eli was able to make plays and then make plays. So I think it's more of that. I think when we don't have a transcendent talent in, the answer is going to be the team with the best defense or a top 3 defense and a team that can also run the football. I think that's the formula and has always been the formula for winning.
So this is what I kind of let me just unpack my thoughts as I was watching the game. We went through a period of time where we gave so much credit to winning Super Bowls to Brady's,
Yeah.
the River. Well, not Rivers. He didn't win the Super Bowl,
Breeze
but Breeze.
Yeah.
Even Eli Manning to a certain degree.
He got a lot of credit for that.
And may even end up going to the Super Bowl and be viewed as a great quarterback for that. But I cannot remember the era where you were also able to win Super Bowls with guys like let me go back a little bit and just say you were able to have guys win Super Bowl with guys like Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson and just different, even Jim McMahon to a certain extent, where you didn't have these household names of quarterbacks, and then the way people view kind of Jalen Hurts now, they probably view him closer to a Trent Dilfer than they do a Brady or Manning. So are we at a point where will Darnold establish himself as a great quarterback by winning, or will he just be one of these outlier guys that we say, hey, he won? Now he was able to win a Super Bowl with a really good defense. One thing I'll say about Jalen, and this is what makes Jalen the great enigma. In those two big games, he's played sensational.
Yeah. He was the best player.
Yeah,
he was the best player.
And so that's kind of where Jalen kind of is the outlier in that he's probably the reason why they should have won the first time he went, and definitely the reason why they did win the second time he went.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll say. Well, Jalen is kind of the outlier, but I think Jalen could be seen as kind of this, this a quarterback that won with a good team rather than the reason why. And I also think, as I've kind of unpacked the last few years in the NFL, I think we've given Patrick Mahomes a lot of the credit for winning, right? But let's not take away from the fact that he's played with some really good defenses as well.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
And in the game that his defense didn't play great. He ended up losing to Tom Brady one game, and then he lost to Jalen Hurts in another game. So again, I just think it's a situation where, and then going back even before then, going back to 2019, I forgot about this Super Bowl, but we had a Super Bowl that was 13-10 that featured Tom Brady
Rams and the Patriots. Yeah,
That's
what I was just going to go to. I think Sam Darnold is viewed as what we would have viewed Jared Goff as if they won 13-10 over the New England Patriots. I think we would have viewed Jared Goff as he was a good player. He won on the team now. I mean, that team had Von Miller. Not Von Miller, but they had Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh was on that team. And they had a lot of dogs. Aqib Talib was on that defense that went in 2019. So they had a lot of dogs. And if Jared Goff would have won, it just would have been, great team win. Jared Goff as the quarterback.
And then you had guys like these other guys. You had Matt Foles win a Super Bowl.
Nick Foles, yeah.
Nick Foles win a Super Bowl, and the year before, Matt Ryan lost to Tom Brady. You know what I mean? So we've had these guys that I think, for whatever reason, this is what I was getting to. You were talking about the running back. For whatever reason, we give the quarterbacks way too much consideration as being the reason why they're able to play in these big games. And outside of guys like Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, if you take those two guys out of the mix, right? There's been a whole bunch of other different kind of guys playing in the Super Bowl. Those guys just in the last 10 years have been there just about either one or two of those guys have been there each and every time. And I think that's kind of what's made the quarterback position seem so important. But I think what's more important is the team you build around the quarterback.
Yeah.
That kind of dictates truly whether you play in the game. Because, again, there's only one Patrick Mahomes. There's only one Tom Brady. And we shouldn't give guys like Matt Ryan and Jared Goff and even I would even say Matt Stafford the credit when, the special guys do it over and over and over again. And so that's what that's kind of where I'm looking at is that for the running back to really come back into, and I'm putting it on the running back today, Kenneth Walker's got to come back and do this again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the way when the running back was really valued was, I believe, when Emmett came back and won 3 out of 4.
Absolutely.
And that shot the running backs value through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because if you had that guy, you know, teams were successful. And that's what's going to happen here. You're going to have a running back with a great season come back and have a great playoff run. Saquon Barkley did something similar to that last year, even though he wasn't as effective in the Super Bowl game. But you see how a running back
most yards in history still for total yards in the entire season. Still had the most total rushing yards in the entire season. I agree. I think to go to your point about the quarterbacks, quarterback wins are the most overinflated stat in sports. Out of any sport, I believe they give quarterback all the credit if somebody wins, and they'll bash Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or even a Josh Allen if they throw for 380 yards and 4 touchdowns, but they lose. It's the most overinflated stat. I think more guys can win. I see the Patrick Mahomes and those guys, the flashy guys, as like a Steph Curry. Steph Curry changed the league because everybody said, we all got to start shooting threes. Look how the Steph guy's shooting. And everybody quickly figured out, oh, that's just because he's Steph Curry, not because it's smarter to shoot threes. They're just winning like that because he's Steph.
Steph is Steph.
Exactly. And everybody had to figure that out slowly, and now we're slowly getting back to the Wembanyamas and the Jokic and all these guys are the most important players and not the little guard that can run around and shoot threes because everybody ain't Steph. Everybody ain't Mahomes. We can try to build a team around. I'll find a guy that moves like Mahomes. Or he's got a cannon arm. He can do this. But then you realize he's just not Mahomes. He's just not Peyton Manning. He's just not Tom Brady. So I think more teams win by building a team, which has always been the philosophy that I've said. You said it on here for years now as well, too. The philosophy to win is building a team and then getting the quarterback to match the situation, not get the quarterback and then just hope I start winning.
And again, what has made guys, and I'll put Brady in this category, I'll put Mahomes in this category, and I won't add any other quarterbacks in this category. What has made them special, in my opinion, is that in the crucial moments in the game, they have both been able to be special.
Yes.
Right? And so does it grow their legend? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not forget the reason why they were in the game is because of their team. And to their credit, they are clutch players. And I think Steph Curry's viewed that same kind of way in that he can summon the best that he has to offer at the perfect time, at the time when his team needs it. You know what I mean? And that's what makes guys like Mahomes, Brady, and even Steph, to your credit, special is that they're the outlier. They are truly the outliers. There are no duplicates, or there are no guys that are like that. And certainly, you could put Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, and Matt Stafford. You could put all of those guys and give them all the accolades they want. They largely are not the same player down the stretch in the clutch that Brady, Mahomes has been.
Yes.
And that's what's special. When Brady's down 28-3, he's able to come back and win the game. When Mahomes 17 seconds left on the clock, he's able to bring them back. When they're down 10 points in the fourth quarter against San Francisco, he's able to bring them back. You know, so those are things that's what makes the quarterback position very special, and it inflates its value. But let's not get it twisted. I don't care how much you pay Dak. He's not going to perform like Mahomes. I don't care how much you pay Jared Goff. He's not going to be the next Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And I think one of the benefits I think that Seattle has a fortunate situation with Sam Darnold is they were able to win a Super Bowl with him, and he's on a contract that I think is commensurate with his ability.
Yes.
You pay a guy $33 million.
Perfect contract.
Who is a contributor on a Super Bowl team and not the team.
Mm-hmm. And you can pay him right now, and still that money, whatever the new money, Super Bowl money you pay him, won't kick in for another 2 or 3 years.
Absolutely.
And you get to continue to build this team because you only got about a 2 or 3 year window anyway. By the time that money kicks in, you might be out the question. You might be ready to cut Sam Darnold by the time that money will kick in. But you could pay him, keep him happy, and continue to build your team. That was one of the best signings in free agency, not just because it paid out to him win the Super Bowl, but the number that they got him at. when you see a Brock Purdy in the same division as him, when things get put on his shoulder and he's making twice the amount of money, you don't get the same result.
Let's look at this. You have guys like that automatically get the max. You got, of course, you got Josh Allen, max. What's my other man? Burrow, max. Dak, max. All these guys. We could even talk about the guy in Cleveland, Deshaun Watson, max. Yep. All these guys getting the max that you say are getting the max, and none of these guys have made an appearance in the Super Bowl. Mm-mm. Now Burrow has made an appearance, but it's not when he was on a max deal. Yeah. He was on his rookie contract is when he got there. The only guy that showed up to be worthy of that kind of money is Mahomes, and I think all these guys have benefited from Mahomes being such a sensational player and getting his team to the Super Bowl over and over again. And I think there has to be some fiscal responsibility to these teams that, and again, I'm really a guy that's all in favor of players getting the maximum amount of money possible.
Sure.
But at some point, you have to say, hey, when are we going to just pay a quarterback to be good, and we don't have to pay him to be great? We just want him to be good. We don't, because you don't need again, last 2 Super Bowls are indicative. You don't have to be a great quarterback to win a Super Bowl. And so I hope this gives teams, some information to say, hey, maybe when it's time for a guy like Jalen Hurts to come back up for a new deal, you give him something a little more reasonable rather than try to, what do they call it, match the market or
set the market.
Set the market.
Yeah. And I think that's always been the philosophy. I give Kyle Shanahan so much credit, even though he has not won a Super Bowl, to continually be in Super Bowl contention year in and year out with Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy as your quarterbacks, showing, man, he just didn't win. That's the only thing. But he's showing I don't need the top-tier quarterback. Get to a Super Bowl with Matt Ryan in 2016. I don't need the best guy in the world. Just let me get a team and a guy that can run this offense and a guy that can be competent and not turn the ball over. That was Sam Darnold's best stat through the entire playoffs was he didn't turn the ball over, which means he played winning football for 48 minutes for 3 games straight.
He gave his team a chance.
He didn't take them out the game early by his mistakes. Let his defense go hunt. That's what they know they can do. That's what the strength of the team is letting that defense go do what they do. They were able to do that. Since we're talking about Sam Darnold, where does this put him now in legacy? Because last year we had lots and lots and lots of conversations about where did Jalen Hurts rank amongst quarterbacks after he won his Super Bowl. Now it's time to do the same thing with Sam Darnold like we did with Jalen Hurts. Where do we see a Sam Darnold ranking? We can just go based off of this year, whoever played good, whoever didn't play good. Where would you see him? What tier? If you don't have to give him an exact number, but what tier do you see a guy like a Sam Darnold sitting in after going out here and becoming a Super Bowl winning quarterback?
I would put him on that. Okay, so I have, me personally, I have Mahomes on his own tier. That's just me. That's how I do. I have
he's by himself, a class in himself.
He's by himself, right? Then I have guys like Patrick Mahomes, but Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Let me see, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. And I have those guys on a separate tier, right? And the reason why I have those guys on a separate tier is because up to this point, they are their teams. Yeah. Like they are their teams. I'll even add another guy on there. I'll even add Matt Stafford in that same same group where they are their teams. Mm-hmm. Like their team's offense is predicated on them being the guy. And if they're not the guy, their teams really don't have much of a chance to win. Then you have other guys that may be in a similar situation, but I don't think they perform like that regularly. And you have your Herberts, your Daks, your Sam Darnolds. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You have those guys in that category. Maybe missing some guys. And then below those guys, you have your Tours, your Bryce Youngs, your CJ Strouds, and all that kind of stuff, right? Because to me, there was one point where I would put CJ Stroud in there with Dak, but he hasn't been that guy for a year, for more than a year, to be honest with you. Since his
rookie year,
And so when you look at Sam Darnold, now what I would say is, what is Sam Darnold's ceiling?
Mm-hmm.
I think you may disagree. People want his ceiling to be in the Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson era. Mm-hmm. But I really think he's in there with Dak, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert. That's where he is. And I think that's where he'll always be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't think, it's kind of funny to say this, I don't think that him being on a better offense makes him a better player. It makes his stats better.
Yeah.
But like we found about Dak, being a Cowboy fan, he kind of is what he is, and he's a really good quarterback, but he's not going to be the reason why you win a big game. You're going to win a big game because he's on a really good team with really good parts.
I agree. We have the exact same type of tier. I have Patrick Mahomes is by himself completely. He's the only person in the NFL that's got a chance to be in the GOAT conversation. Only player. Mm-hmm. So he's in a tier by himself. Lamar, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Matt Stafford are by themselves. Matt Stafford kind of on the tail end of that, but he's still within that as well.
Yes.
It's a complete game changer. You stick me out there with a good offense, I'm going to go crazy. That just is what it is. Everybody else, not everybody else, but the next tier, I got the same people. Dak Prescott's. I have the Caleb Williams. I have the Jordan Loves. I think Sam Darnold is in that category because he's a Super Bowl champion. But all those guys I just named, I will pick above. And that's the only thing I don't like about when guys win the Super Bowl. Now we have to put them. I don't think Sam Darnold is better than Dak Prescott. I know that'll sound crazy.
No, he's not. He's not.
Well, I'm just saying other people would, man, he's a Super Bowl champ. Dak never done this and that. Sam Darnold's not better than Dak Prescott. Nobody in the entire NFL 1 through 32 is picking Sam Darnold over Caleb Williams. Nobody's going to pick him over Jordan Love. Like, he's in that category. Yes, he's a Super Bowl champion, but we cannot overinflate. Sam Darnold winning this is like Nick Foles or Carson Wentz winning the Super Bowl in 2016 with the Eagles, is what I think. It's that same type of category of Super Bowl win. This doesn't put him in the next category for me.
Well, I think so. I got a close-up look at this as a Cowboy fan. Mm-hmm. When Dak was very young and he had Des Bryant.
Yep.
He had
Witten was still there, Zeke.
With Zeke. Yeah, that's the main thing I was going to say, Zeke. We saw him look great as a quarterback. He looked great as a quarterback. And you also, and he played so well, you were like, oh, man, once he makes that next step.
Yeah.
Essentially, Jalen, we're waiting on him still to make that next step because he is that same guy that he was when he was a rookie, meaning that if, in fact, all the parts around him are performing well, he's going to make them perform at their very best. He has the ability to elevate a player's performance because of his consistency as a player, right? We saw that this year. But is he ever going to be able to just take over a game and dominate for more than just one game? Can there be a 5-10 game stretch where he takes a team on his back and leads them on a championship run? I don't see him as being that kind of player. He's just not that kind of player. And he certainly can't do it without quality players around him. And I think that's kind of Sam Darnold's thing. Got under this. You may think I'm joking, essentially. But Smith and Jigba just took the place of Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, it was the exact same thing. It was the exact same thing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he got Sam Darnold's a good quarterback, and he knows how to throw it to the open guy most of the time. And he's gonna give that guy enough of a chance to make plays. And guess what happened? Smith and Jigba ends up being Justin Jefferson, which is worked out fabulous for Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
But he still turned the ball over the most of any quarterback in the NFL. So he's, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, he is who he is.
Let's not overdo this. We know he won the Super Bowl. It was a great run. It was a great team. But what we can't do is make Sam Darnold a top 5 quarterback. That's what we can't do. We can't start having
no.
He's
no.
Sam Darnold's top 5 now because he did this. We can't have those conversations. He's not better than – I seen everybody getting on Ryan Clark because this morning on Get Up, he said he named about 7 or 8 quarterbacks he would take up front of Sam Darnold in the NFC. Not even in the NFL, just in the NFC, guys that he would take in front of Sam Darnold. Everybody, oh, man, he's hating. He's saying, no, like, we just can't overinflate the things. It was a good team win. That's what this was. This was a team, which it always is in the Super Bowl. It's always a team win because we see.
But I think when we get those big name quarterbacks in there, we kind of give those guys credit.
We do
for winning the game, and Sam Darnold, unfortunately, he's not going to get that credit for winning the game.
And I think that's not losing it.
And I think that's a fair assessment. Just like there are moments in the game. Give me a moment in the game, this past game, where they had to have it from Sam Darnold.
Nope, none. Zero. Zero for zero. There was no moments in the game where if he doesn't do this, the game is going to take a dramatic shift. There wasn't a moment in the game that happened. He did come out throwing darts. I'll give him that from the beginning of the game. He came out looking accurate. Guys are dropping the ball and all that kind of stuff. But there were, to your point, no moments where if Sam Darnold doesn't do this,
I didn't watch the game. I really would like to see I watched the game, but I wanted to see their third down conversion percentage. I would really like to see that because it didn't seem to me that he was really good on third down. But I mean,
third down efficiency, they were 4 for 16.
Like that, to me, that's a quarterback stat.
Yeah, because this is the only down out of all the downs that we know you're going to have the ball, and what did you do with it? He went for 16, yeah.
So you got to understand, he didn't play a great game, and if you were say, his team kept him out of situations, and again, it was a masterful coaching job by Coach McDonald. And let's say this.
Absolutely.
I think this coaching job elevates Coach McDonald, though.
Yes, absolutely.
It makes him, in my opinion, makes him a top 5 coach.
I would have to agree with that. I'm
going to say something that people may not agree with. I think he's the best coach.
In what, NFC?
No. I'm just saying, I don't know that. I like McVay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Saying he might be the best coach in that division.
Man, I just think what he was able to do this year.
It was phenomenal coaching
with McVay and those, because this is what I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think his ability to handle those offenses are more impressive than the defenses that they had to go through, that the other 2 coaches had to go through. We saw what happened to McVay and Shanahan when they had to play. Shanahan admitted, he said, I played him 3 times, I didn't score a touchdown the whole year on him.
Yeah.
Like he said, I mean, when he said that, I want to say he said that, did he say that Saturday morning? He may have said it Sunday morning, but he said, I played him 3 times, and I still ain't scored a touchdown on him.
Yeah.
He said, this is a really good defense.
Really good defense. In the toughest division in football.
And they do it, and he said they do it, out of zone.
Yep. Just like the Legion of Boom. Very similar to the Legion of Boom.
And so my point in saying it is, we may not be giving this defense and this coaching job that Mike Donald has done defensively the credit.
I agree with that.
I think another thing is people don't get to see him as much because they're in Seattle on the West.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the NFL has a bias toward marquee quarterbacks.
Yes.
So that's who you
49ers were on TV more than Seattle.
Yeah.
Like that shows you that we don't, and the 49ers just ain't on TV every week, but they were on TV way more than Seattle.
Marquee quarterback.
Yeah.
And so it was a situation where we maybe if we got a chance to see that level of physicality each and every week, we may be viewing this defense a little different than we did coming into this game because these boys are nasty.
Yeah.
When you look at Witherspoon and Job in the back, they nasty.
Yeah.
And then I still don't know if they can cover anybody because
they can't, but it don't matter because they come up and hit you.
No, but that's what I'm saying. They played the physicality.
Yeah, they're gonna come up and
that
hit.
they play with, and they were putting heavy hands on the wide receivers from and whenever they caught the ball, that's where they got tackled at.
Punished right then and there.
So like I say, shout out to Coach McDonald, man. He did a great job. He definitely earns whatever praise he gets. And I think it has elevated him into that elite coaching status. No doubt. I put him in that. Now he doesn't say a whole lot. He doesn't have.
I don't even know what his voice sounds like really to this weekend. I'll be honest.
He doesn't have a lot of clever sayings. Or he doesn't have the standard is the standard, or
he barely been a coach that long. He got into the NFL off an internship program.
Yeah.
Intern. So
now he was with a great program though for 10 years though.
Yeah, he was.
He was with Baltimore, and that credit to Ozzie Smith and the guy.
Was he with the Bulldogs before then in college? Was he with Georgia in college? He was with somebody else in college. That was another good program. So he's been around phenomenal programs his whole entire coaching tenure. So he knows what winning is like, and to do this in 2 years, to be able to do it, to get the Sam Darnold signing was the biggest thing. How dumb does Minnesota look by saying, no, we good. We got, I forget what the nickname was they were called. I think they were calling him number 9. He would call himself 9 or something like that. Something lame.
Well, I think you're in a situation where you've used significant draft capital on a quarterback that you owe him $20-30 million.
You got to see what you got. I get it.
And if you thought that highly of Sam Darnold, you wouldn't have drafted J.J. McCarthy.
Yep.
And so I think you had a plan that you had, and you were bound to stick to. It's much like, we all would like to have our cake and eat it too, but you can't, So in that situation,
Yeah, I think it was a tough situation they got put in. So I understand why they did it, but it doesn't feel any better watching the guy
and the GM got fired. But here's what I'll say: you fired the GM because no good deed goes unpunished, right? Mm-hmm. Everything I've heard is O'Connell goes to the GM. This is the quarterback I want, and the GM overdrafts the guy because this is the quarterback that the coach wants, right? The coach, the quarterback gets hurt as a rookie. You really don't get to see what you have. And then you have a great season with this journeyman quarterback you signed for $10 million, right? Now you want to re-sign this journeyman guy, but you made me spend draft capital on this quarterback.
Yeah.
Coach this guy. This is the guy you wanted.
Yeah.
I'm paying JJ max money, $35 million a year.
Yep.
I don't mind. People say it was stupid and you regret it or whatever. But if you knew if Sam Darnold was Sam Darnold, you wouldn't have been able to get him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You wouldn't have got him for $10 million. And if he was part of your long-term plans, you wouldn't have drafted J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
Now, some people will argue smart people take new information and pivot, right? Mm-hmm. But as a GM, you're responsible for the pick.
Yeah.
And if I use the pick the way you want me to use the pick, then guess what? You have to live with the pick. You understand what I'm saying? Like the coach should have been expected to live with the pick.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. And I everybody's blaming the GM for letting Sam walk out. But I blame both of them.
Oh,
because O'Connell's having a tough time developing JJ, and that's the guy that he wanted, and thus that's why JJ McCarthy was overdrafted.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. You see in the same class, obviously they didn't have a chance to pick him, but Caleb Williams gets to second round of the playoffs. Jaden McDaniels gets to the NFC Championship. Bo Nix gets to the AFC Championship. JJ McCarthy doesn't even hardly get them above 500 in his time starting. So
he don't did them 10 complete passes. What are you talking about?
So he didn't get much, but Sam Darnold, I definitely think moves himself up on the rankings. I agree. Coach McDonald moves himself way up in the rankings. My biggest deal will be, will Sam Darnold, will Seattle, will Jackson Smith and Jigba look like any of this with Clint Kubiak out the building? Because I think Clint Kubiak is a really, really good offensive coordinator.
You know what I would concern myself with? I think the bigger question, will Clint Kubiak look like Clint Kubiak without, because wasn't he somewhere and he didn't look like Clint Kubiak and they ran him off?
He hadn't got a chance yet as a main guy.
No. Wasn't he OC somewhere where they ran him off?
In New Orleans. He was in OC in New Orleans, and then they got a new staff, and so he moved on and went to Seattle. But I think he's one of those next guys. As far as offenses, I like what New Orleans offense looked like last year, until everybody on the whole team got hurt, and then they kind of threw out the door. Then they get a new coach, new staff, and he got to go find a job. Ends up lands in Seattle, and since he's landing in Seattle, they've looked like the real deal.
But I think in Jigba, Kenneth Walker, Sam Darnold, that offensive line, I think that's going to be more difficult to come by than
the Clint Kubiak. You're right. They got the bones. They got the bones
because the Raiders didn't show me anything last year.
Yeah, they're a disaster. And he's gonna have Mendoza as his quarterback, and we don't even know if this guy's that good or not. So we'll
see though.
We'll see when they get him out there. You get your number one.
We'll see if he's J.J. McCarthy or if he's Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Exactly. The Super Bowl wrapped up, meaning the end of football season. You always get the number one question: can this team go back? Does Seattle have enough that you can see, man, these guys can be in the Super Bowl another year, maybe another 2 years? Maybe 3 and 4 or 5 years. Is Seattle one of those teams you see as that?
I think so. I think they have enough defensively to come back. They have the coach. You got to understand. As we sit here, we're saying, hey, the reason why they were able to win this Super Bowl because of defense. Well, that coach is coming back, and I'm sure he's going to lobby for the majority of those players come back. They got one of the youngest teams in the NFL, so they're gonna try to bring a lot of what they got back. Offensively, how they deal with that side of the ball is going to, it's going to have some say-so about whether they repeat. But this is what I will say. They have the benefit of not really needing any one position. So they can essentially take the best player available. If it's an offensive player, they could take him. If it's a defensive player, they can take him and then just plug that player into an already stout group. So I just think Seattle's in a great position. When you talk about repeating, though, who's to say you'll have the same luck with health that you had this year?
Matchups, health.
A lot then you got to account for the other teams improving as well. Will Frisco, Green Bay, they've had, like I say, there's good fortune that goes along with any championship run, and they certainly had their share of good fortune. But I think at the end of the day, they're set and ready to make another championship run. The team that I don't think it will be ready to make a championship run is the Patriots. Unfortunately, I think they're very young, inexperienced, and they'll be playing a number one place schedule. So what does that mean? That's more Lamar Jackson. That's more Patrick Mahomes. That's more Josh Allen. And there's more Joe Burrow. And they're going to have a lot of that on the schedule this year, whereas they didn't have a lot of it this past year.
Yeah, I agree with that. To your last point, definitely I think Seattle can get back. Will they be my favorites in the NFC? No, I don't think so. But as you brought up, they've got the bones there. All these guys they drafted, that's the best part, because when you drafted all these guys, that means you know what talent looks like, and you can draft some more guys to fill in spots. Just about all their main guys they have out there outside of Sam Darnold, they drafted, and they identified in the draft whether that was a high or a low draft pick. And I definitely think Seattle's one of those teams. In the AFC, I agree. Not only are the Patriots a young team, but the AFC is a completely different ballgame than the NFC. AFC is loaded with star power at the quarterback position. The NFC is loaded with good teams. The Matt Staffords, the Eagles will be there every a few years. Chicago's getting better, Green Bay. But the AFC has the boogeyman, which is Patrick Mahomes. They got the other boogeyman, which is Lamar Jackson. Then they got the other boogeyman, which is Josh Allen. And then they got the fourth guy that can turn into a boogeyman, of Joe Burrow. So there's so many things. You could just play one of those guys. You could have a completely better team than any of those guys. Play them in the playoffs and lose because they're just that much better So the AFC is a completely different ball game. I don't think New England will be a team going back to the Super Bowl. What they do have is they play in the AFC East. Miami's going to continue to be a disaster, as well as the Jets will always be a disaster. So you'll get that. You got to go against the Bills, but you'll get that. But as far as competing in the AFC, man, the AFC is only getting tougher. I don't see it getting weaker. Joe Burrow wasn't in the playoffs this year. Patrick Mahomes wasn't in the playoffs this year. Lamar Jackson wasn't in the playoffs this year. All three of those guys are going to be in the playoffs. Maybe Joe Burrow. I don't know about the Bengals. But the other two guys will be in the playoffs. So it'll be a completely different path to even get to the playoffs for the New England Patriots. So I definitely think it'll be tough for either one of those teams to get back. Let's transition a little bit as we wrap up talking about some football. Let's talk a little bit of local sports here. The Baylor Bears are off to a really, really bad start this year. Not for the total record, but their start in conference is their worst conference start since Scott Drew has taken over as coach back in the mid-2000s. They're sitting at the bottom of the conference. Only teams worse than them: Arizona State, Kansas State, and Utah. 3-8 in conference play. Usually with Scott Drew, when you see he have the talent like the Cameron Carrs, when you see he has the talent like the Tunde Yesafus that Baylor has, you usually see them start to excel in conference. They start to put it together, even if they're not at the top of the conference, because the Big 12, I think year in and year out, is consistently the best conference in men's basketball. Last year, the SEC had a really good year. But for the past decade, and probably some change, Big 12 is usually dominant in basketball, and Baylor's a part of that story. Them adding in that merger with the teams from the Pac-12 didn't do anything in football. It kind of made a toss-up in football, didn't do much. Arizona State will be competitive. BYU will be competitive. But in basketball, they brought monsters over to what was already the best conference. They brought in Arizona. They add a U of H to the conference as well. They add in the BYUs, who's been really good, who was top 10 ranked for a majority of the season until here of late. What do you think about Baylor's 3-8 start, despite having two guys that could potentially go on the lottery in Tunde Yesufu and in Cameron Carr? Still, they're off to a 3-8 start on the season.
Man, I just think this is a situation where the team is just underperformed under Scott Drew. And in my opinion, this is the second year that they've underperformed under Scott Drew. I think when you look at DJ Epscombe, VJ Epscombe, what he's doing in the pros,
monster.
And
for years, Keontae George averaging 25. He averaged 10, 12 points when he was at Baylor.
Yeah, guys are underperforming, and I think Scott Drew has to get a handle on that. He's doing a great job of being an NBA pipeline, but he's those guys are not proven to be, those kind of players. Moving forward, my concern is that maybe Scott Drew, or maybe this is a era in basketball that being in the one and done business isn't good for winning.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Agree.
It may be good for popularity and gaining a recruiting position, but you may just need to recruit more mature players, more guys with less stars but more experience.
Yes,
And I think if you go back and look at all of the teams at the top, they're pretty experienced teams, and they're and though they were highly recruited, but they're just more experienced teams, older players, and Scott Drew, his guys just don't have the depth of experience that those other teams have. I've watched them in a couple games where they've played well for a time, but they in the middle of the competition, they just completely fall apart or lose focus. So
it's exactly what you said. I think the one and done has been great for recruiting. Since they won the championship in 2021, they put somebody in the lottery every year. Davion Mitchell went after they won the championship. Keontae George, even though he had a lackluster season, not a lackluster, didn't have a great season at Baylor, still win lottery. Turns out he's a stud. He's averaging 25 right now on the Utah Jazz. Jacoby Walter went one and done after that.
Then he had two guys in 2023, maybe. The European guys that went. I don't know if they went lottery, but they got drafted.
They got drafted. Oh yeah. They still got drafted within there
in the first round. First round, that team to me underperformed as well.
All of those teams, since they won the championship, have underperformed. They've had blue chip talent, top tier talent, VJ Edgecombe, all these guys.
I'll even say this: the team is underperformed. Now this may be going back a little too far, but ever since Everyday John got hurt, they have not. The program has not been the same.
Absolutely, I can 100% agree with that.
You know, whenever John got hurt, I want to say they were maybe in the top 10, maybe, but they haven't been
Keontae,
quite.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name.
Jonathan Chamchachua. I think.
I think
I probably said it.
But when he got hurt, seems like the program hadn't been the same since.
Yeah, it was about 2022 when he tore his ACL after they won that championship. I agree. Hasn't had that great. The thing that made that 2021 team so special, it was the mix. They had the blue chip talent in the Davion Mitchell, in the Jared Butler, but the Maceo Teagues, the Everyday John, the Mark Vitals, those are the guys that have been in college basketball for 2 or 3 years. Scott Drew has done a great job of picking top-tier talent. He hasn't done a great job of building teams. U of H is the perfect mix of, we're going to have a guy that's a blue chip talent, but the rest of these 23, 24, 25-year-olds are just dudes that know how to play basketball, that are going to be tough,
and they're tough.
Physical. Kansas Jayhawks the same way. Texas Tech the last couple of years that have been really good the same way. They'll have their
and
guys.
the Jayhawks has kind of turned their season around after a slow start.
Super slow start. Fell out of the rankings completely, even with Darren Peterson. But they've got a team. The more and more I've watched the Kansas Jayhawks, it ain't just Darren Peterson, even though he's phenomenal, but they got a team around those guys.
So I'll give you this. I think you made a great point early on. We can make this about Baylor and Scott Drew, but I think we're being unfair if we don't make where Baylor is now about Arizona State, Houston Cougars, Iowa State, even Texas Tech, coming all the way down to BYU, and then we know the Cincinnati Bearcats have historically always been competitive. Now, should they be this far down? Probably not. Should they be should they be around where West Virginia is? And they easily could be where West Virginia is. But the point that I'm saying is this is a gauntlet of a conference.
Man,
and if you have an injury or if you have a spell where you're just not playing well, you can really get buried in this conference. And I think that's what Baylor and Scott Drew are experiencing now. They're just not playing well, and each and every outing, they cannot afford to play less than their best and expect to get a victory.
And I think that's what all the teams outside of the top 5 or 6 are facing. They're pretty good teams, but if you have just a 2-game, 3-game bad stretch, you'll get buried in what is the best conference. And then you know you're not going to beat Arizona, and then you know you're not going to beat U of H, and you know you're probably not going to beat Iowa State. You might split with them, but you ain't going to beat them at Iowa State. So you already got those penciled-in losses, and then UCF is not ranked, and they're a good team. And then West Virginia's not even ranked, and they're a good team.
Now, let me ask you this here. Why do you think Baylor didn't have those marquee matchups in the preseason the way they have in the plans, playing the Gonzagas and the Dukes and, those matchups they had. This year, for some reason, they didn't have those out-of-conference matchups that they have had in the past.
Yeah, they had a couple. They played St. John, but St. John was pretty good out there, but they didn't have those. I think it's just the tournaments they played in. I forget what the tournament was, but they played Creighton and Washington in the same tournament. But usually they go into a tournament where, like it used to be the Maui tournament, some years ago, where you play against Duke or you'll play against Michigan State or you'll play against Gonzaga in there. But they didn't have that tournament this year. And to me, it made it look like, I was thinking, these Baylor guys can go. I'm looking at Tunde Yesufu. He getting 25, 28. Man, these guys can go. But I think it's a mixture of they ran into a super tough conference, and then they really just don't have an identity. I've watched majority of their game, don't have an identity on the offensive end. It's kind of random ISOs, and we'll get fast break points. Like our athletes, Cameron Carr, super athletic. Tunde Yesufu is a freak athletically out there, but they don't have a true identity. They're not super physical. They're not great shooters. They don't have a true point guard, in my opinion.
So that's the other thing I will say as well. Even in times when they didn't have, like maybe let's just look at DJ Edgecombe, where he didn't have a great year. He had a point guard that he could play along with that could kind of take up the ball handling slack or whatever, and he didn't have to develop that part of his game. There's just not that player on the team. There's not an experienced point guard. Now, in the past, Baylor was able to get those players from other schools. In recent years. They got Cryer from somebody. They got the other kid. I forget the other kid that was with Cryer. Long story short, they hadn't been able to score that mid-major point guard and get him to come over and play for Baylor and play well. Do you think Cryer leaving the program also signaled what was to come for Baylor? Because Baylor at the time, I want to say they were up and coming. They were
after they won a chip. Is when he left.
And Cryer went to Houston, and at the time Houston hadn't been to the big game or anything like that. I was just wondering, is Baylor in this NIL era, are they not engaging the way that they probably should from a financial standpoint?
That could be part of it, but I think they're spending money. They're getting guys. I think the lack of point guard play, as you just brought up, has been huge for them. And all their times of winning, when you go back to just, with Scott Drew's tenure, the Tweety Carters, the Pierre Jacksons. I forget the kid's name when we lost to South Dakota in the first round, but he was a really good point guard. When we won, we had Jared Butler and Davion Mitchell, a really good point guard. And then since then,
and you had combos who could play point.
Exactly. And since then, we haven't had that point guard like that. Last year, even with VJ Edgecombe, Robert Wright was a really good point guard for them. He left. He's on BYU right now, who's a top-ranked team. So they haven't been able to sustain that great point guard play. That's hurt them a bit. I think it's just a changing in recruiting philosophy, though, for them. I think you still get to Tunde Yesufu. You still get a guy that's a top 10 player in the nation, all the talent in the world, all the potential in the world. But you got to find a way to build the rest 1 through 11. How do you get those guys to respond, and how do you get those guys to look more like a Jared Butler and a Maceo Teague and a Mark Vital and those guys that you had on a championship roster? I think that's Baylor's problem. But most of the problem is what you just brought up. You playing in a conference with 5 of the best teams in the nation. Iowa State, no one would be shocked if Iowa State won it all. No one would be shocked if Arizona won it. No one would be shocked if Houston won it. No one would be shocked if Kansas won it. So when you're playing with all championship contenders, it's going to be easy to look like the little guy in a conference like that. So Baylor still got some time to rectify what they've done wrong. They're going back through their second run in conference. They're going to get a really tough non-conference game coming up on Valentine's at the end of this week. They'll play against A.J. DeBonsta tomorrow on ESPN, so I'll be tuned in to watch that and see what they're going to do. But they got tough games coming up. They still got BYU. They still got Arizona, who hasn't lost a game.
I can't believe they're taking an out-of-conference game right in the middle of...
In the middle of conference. And Louisville one at that. Like, you usually wouldn't. You might want to get a cupcake if you're going to take a conference game in the middle of a non-conference game in the middle of play. But they're playing that. Then you got to go play at Kansas State, don't matter what their record is. It ain't easy to play in Manhattan. And then you're going to play against Arizona and U of H right after that. So it's a tough stretch coming up for the Bears. We'll see if they're able to respond and get back in the running of things. Right now, they're not even in the running to be middle of the pack in the Big 12. Can they just get back in the running? I think is what everybody will be waiting to see. Let's do some quick takes real quick while we got some time left here on the show, and then we'll close out and talk about some of the NBA games that are coming on here tonight. First, you are a Coach Prime fan like myself. What do you think about his recent press run in the Super Bowl where he's held everybody accountable for the things that were said, done to his son and that? Because I've loved it. I've loved the fact that he's, I'll take your interview, but it ain't going to be the interview where I just come on here and say, where to get this men's cologne, yada, yada. No, I'm going to say, hey, where were y'all at when they said this about Shador? And they said he wears headphones and shades in practice and in team meetings and he does this. What did you say? What was your stance on it? Even if you didn't say anything bad, what did you say? What did you do anything? Or did you just let it happen? I love the fact that Coach Prime held everybody accountable. He talked about it from ESPN to even to the smaller shows that he did throughout the thing, and then talked about the success that his son has had. What do you think about what Coach Prime has said and just the
Well, I just think in this situation he gets to be a daddy.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
He doesn't have to speak in those circumstances. He's not on Colorado official business when he goes to the Super Bowl. He's pitching almonds. And he gets to talk about it as a father. You got to remember, when he's got that Colorado stuff on, when he's wearing that stuff, he represents the Colorado Buffaloes. And so I think he was very smart not to get into a back and forth while he was in the middle of his season. And they had a really tough season this year. So, but with that being said, I like it. You know, I think about a lot of people had a lot to say about Shador, both good and bad. I mean, I think, the corporate media was rather critical of him, but the people in the podcast space, the new media, we were able to see what was going on right through it. And it was good to see that what we had witnessed was actually what we had witnessed, meaning that at the end of the day, Stefanski gave up what we were seeing right before our eyes, which is it was never in his plans to use Shador in any capacity at quarterback for Cleveland.
Yep.
And unfortunately that decision was undermined. And Shador got his, opportunity to show his talents and hopefully he continues to develop and grow and into the player that I believe he can be.
I agree. I love the fact Coach Prime was able to go out and, like you said, he's not talking about Colorado business. He can just be a dad and say the stuff that was done to my son wasn't right. They said, would you ever take an NFL coaching job? He said, after what they just did to my son, absolutely not. So you got the chance to see Coach Prime in the dad role, which I always think is cool for him to do, and get a chance to go out there and just talk about his son and talk about what his son was able to do, able to accomplish. He made the Pro Bowl despite whether people say he should be there or shouldn't be there. There's players every single year that shouldn't be at the Pro Bowl. So there's no reason for us to now get up in arms about Shador making the Pro Bowl. But, yeah, shout out to Coach Prime and being able to go out there and keep everybody accountable. Clint Kubiak, as we just talked about, took the job for the Raiders, officially signed right after the Super Bowl, or officially announced right after the Super Bowl, even though everybody kind of already knew what was going on there. Do you think Clint Kubiak can have some success out there with the Vegas Raiders? They got the number 1 pick, which everybody thinks will be the Fernando Mendoza. They drafted Genty last year in the first top 10 pick. So what do you think about Kubiak going to the Raiders?
I think Kubiak, let's think about this. It's all a matter of what could Kubiak have done with the roster that the Raiders had last year. Do you think he could have done any better?
Nope.
So he's going to have to acquire the most important person in this rebuilding process is going to be the director of scouting, the GM.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to if Kubiak is successful, it's because they're going to add players on the roster that can help him win. Because the roster, as it's currently configured, has failed probably 2 or 3 coaching staffs.
Yeah,
at least 3, right?
Yeah.
Because who was the guy before Pierce? Josh McDaniels?
Yeah, Josh McDaniels, right in the Pierce, right in the Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll. So he has to get better players.
Yeah.
And so let's start there. And then you're going to draft a rookie quarterback. So you know the growing pains that go along with that. And then ultimately you're going to have to hire a defense coordinator. And I think that's going to be your most important hire as a coach. And I'll be honest with you, I'd like to see it. That's a job I really like to see him hire a guy, experienced guy, former head coach, like a Schwartz.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody like that really could. Imagine Schwartz working with my man Max Crosby.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Stays,
yeah. And that wide 9 and coming off the edge and and being able to do some of the same things that Myles Garrett able to do. I think that would work. But again, what do I know?
You're not starting off on the best foot when you get the job. Not saying that you don't take the job because of that, but you have probably the worst roster in football, and your best player wants a trade, or hasn't officially asked for a trade, but probably going to ask for a trade in Max Crosby. And then to couple that, you're in possibly the toughest division in football with the Denver Broncos, with the Chargers, with the Kansas City Chiefs. So you ain't exactly starting on third base when you come out here and take the job.
And think about this. You could draft Mendoza, and he could turn out to be a really good quarterback and still be the 4th best quarterback in the
and could easily be the 4th best quarterback. With a good year, he could easily be the 4th best quarterback in that.
So that's what you're up against. It's a tough job. It's a rebuild. But again, Mike McDonald did it over in Seattle.
Yes.
In similar circumstances.
Mike Vrabel
did it. And so who's to say that it's not possible? I think Mike Vrabel had kind of a heads up because he had already been a head coach before.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
From an organizational standpoint. He also had the last place schedule, so that's gonna work.
That's always easy.
That's something that Kubiak will have. He'll have the last place schedule.
Yeah.
So I don't know that that'll help him out the same way it helped Mike Vrabel out. But
he just officially signed as we speak about it just now, so I guess that was kind of perfect timing right there. But just officially signed a 5-year deal. Breaking news from Adam Schefter just came out right now. So shout out to Clint Kubiak, man. He definitely got paid. We'll see what you can do. Every great offensive coordinator is not a great leader of men. I'm not saying that's not going to be Kubiak. I'm just saying we don't know. I think Mike McDaniel is a pretty good offensive coordinator. I think he was a terrible head coach. So everybody's not built for that. Josh McDaniels continues to be a good offensive coordinator and might be the worst head coach ever because he consistently gets jobs where he does terrible as a head coach. But shout out to Clint Kubiak, man, officially becoming the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's talk a little bit of hoops before we get out of here today. Going back to college hoops, everybody's had a lot of talk about, is this one of the best rookie classes that we've seen in a very long time? I mean, they went all the way back to the 80s with, Michael Jordan, Hakeem. I think, I'm trying to remember who else was all in that same freshman class together.
Bowie, maybe Brad Daugherty. I can't remember.
But it was a really good class with featuring Michael Jordan, Hakeem, and some other guys as well.
Charles
Barkley was also a freshman. They're talking about now, Darren Peterson, A.J. DeBonsta, Cam Boozer, Caleb Wilson, who was on display this past weekend with North Carolina. This is a really, really good freshman class. But a name that we kind of forgot about that fell out of this because of the injury, Elijah Arenas, who is now back on the court after tearing his meniscus in the summer, has looked phenomenal. He's only played in 3 games. His first game, he does pretty good. Second game, he drops 30. On Sunday versus Penn State before the Super Bowl, he drops 30 and gets a game winner. I think this is a dude whose game is as polished as anybody in college basketball. And though he was hurt and everybody was saying, oh, man, DeBonsta's going to be the number 1 pick or Darren Peterson's going to be the number 1 pick, I think Elijah Arenas is just as good, if not better.
He doesn't have the measurables, though. I mean, when you think about it, A.J. DeBonsta has all the measurables.
Well, he does. He does. But I mean, Elijah's 6'7". He ain't a small dude.
No, but what I'm saying is,
I get what you mean about the bounce. He can jump out the gym. He's 6'9",
the big guy,
fast.
The big guy always gets the edge in this sport. Now, again, I'm not saying I think it's probably clear that Gilbert's son has a better floor game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has a better floor game. Yeah. He shoots better. He dribbles better. Has a variety of ways to attack the basket.
Mm-hmm.
But that physical ability that A.J. DeBonsta has.
Can't teach that.
You can't teach that. And so, I slow down the number 1 draft pick talk, but I think Gilbert's son is gonna show himself really well.
He's right in there with those guys. It's just adding to to the lore of this freshman class by seeing him in and what he could potentially do. And it's adding to everybody starting to see the reason why, and I ain't taking nothing away from him because Coop has been doing his thing. But you see the reason why Coop reclassed, went to Duke, and then got up out of there. Because his class, he had been playing against them dudes in all these camps. And hey, these are monsters. Caleb Wilson, A.J. DeBonsta, Elijah Arenas, Darren Peterson. These dudes is hey, man, let me reclass real quick. Let me go to Duke a year early. And Cooper's been doing his thing. He's definitely been outshining. Last week, Rock, I didn't have you on here for the trade deadline, but James Harden gets traded once again, asks for a trade out of the Clippers, goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers to try to help boost their chances of winning an NBA championship this year, which I think they got a decent chance to do just because I don't think the East is that good at all this year. But asked for another trade out, and I'm a James Harden fan. Obviously, his best years is on my Houston Rockets. I'm a fan of Harden. I've defended him somewhat in certain situations of why he asked for it. But, at a certain point, you just can't defend stuff. This is your 5th time asking for a trade. Now, was it a bad move? No. You go to Cleveland, who's a contender. You get a chance to rectify some of your playoff woes. But you can't ask for a trade just out of nowhere 2 days before the trade deadline. And this is not a fifth time that you've been traded from a team. And it has nothing to do with your play because he's still playing at an all-NBA level right now, absolutely. But what do you think about James Harden asking for yet another trade and now heading to the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Hey, I just think he's one of those players that he likes to play his style of play. Mm-hmm. And once it kind of that's not happening, he wants to play his game. He's an on-the-ball player. Mm-hmm. I think that James Harden is a guy that, from a media standpoint, you can always make him the bad guy because of the way he plays and the way he handles the media.
Mm-hmm.
But I still say that a lot of times probably the truth of the matter is guys go to James Harden and say, hey, we want to reduce your minutes. We want to cut you down to 20 minutes. And he said, hey, if you're going to do that, trade me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to, trade me to somebody who can really use my skills.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's shaped as he wants out. We got to also remember about James. He's a single guy, doesn't have a family. All he does is hoop. And so it's not a move is not the same move that it would be for me and you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's 100% facts.
You know,
100%
his girl
facts.
can stay with him in the hotel room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which whenever, you know what I mean? He doesn't have a family to uproot and stuff like that. And so my point of saying this is he travels kind of light, and I think he travels kind of light like that so that he can move whenever the spirit hits him.
Yeah. I agree. I think, his decision, it's not going to be the same as.
He doesn't have a wife to consult with.
It's just hoop. They don't have to worry about, man, where my kids going to go to school. You know, we've heard the Chris Pauls and all these different guys say, man, my kids even going to come with me when I go to this team or do it. He doesn't have to worry about that. I think you can tell this move is strictly about hoops because he went to Cleveland. Usually you could tell, you know, if they got a King of Diamonds there or they got a Magic City there, you might see James Harden say, hey, we can build a residency here. But when him going to Cleveland and there not being nothing to do out there in Cleveland.
Brother, they may build one.
Yeah, they might. Hey, he stimulates the economy. I mean, I know, Onyx and V Live and all those places in Houston have never been the same since James Harden's services have left the great city of Houston, Texas. But they might get him one out there in Cleveland. But he's moving on to Cleveland. I think he adds to this team. You know, it'll be good. People were saying, oh, he doesn't play winning basketball. And like, hey, all we're not going to do is pretend like Darius Garland is better than James Harden. He's not. It's a straight-up trade. You get Darius Garland, we get James Harden. Darius Garland's not better than James, so it's just that simple. James Harden doesn't play defense. Darius Garland can't play defense. It's a difference. Harden doesn't play defense. Darius Garland is 6'1", 180 pounds. He can't play no defense. So I think it's similar. James Harden has more playmaking. He has more scoring to the team. Cleveland Cavaliers got better in this trade. Will it work out? Who knows? Jason Tatum has been cleared to practice with the G League squad. I don't like anything about this. I get Tatum is trying to come back. I get that he sees the East is wide open. But, bro, you just tore your Achilles in May. This is not an ACL injury. This is not a broken arm or something like that where the muscle or the tissue rebuilt. This is an Achilles. People take off a year. Kevin Durant was able to recover so well from his Achilles injury because Kevin Durant didn't play basketball for 2 years. He tore his Achilles in the 2019 finals. We didn't see Kevin Durant play basketball again until 2021. That's why he was able to recover so well. With Tatum coming back so early, I get why he wants to do it. They're saying, oh, he's attacked his rehab. Great. But I hate everything about it. I would want Tatum to stay out. What do you think about Tatum getting cleared to come back and practice with the G League after tearing his Achilles in May, I believe it was. Either May or the beginning of June.
Guys want to get out there and play, man. They're making that money, and they want to get out and see what they can do. I think as long as he understands the risk, and that's what you can do when you're on a what is he on a 5-year, almost $300 million contract? Yeah. I mean, you ain't. If you get hurt again, they still got to pay you the rest of your deal. So I mean, he's not taking the risk that other players are taking when they go out. I'm sure if this was the last year of his deal, he wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, I agree with that. This last year's deal is a completely different thing.
Yeah. He has 3 years left, I believe, on a 5-year,
on the max,
$300 million deal. So he has, again, he wants to get back as soon as he can, see if he can contribute, help his team. If nothing else, he can get himself in some shape. And even if they shut him down for the rest of the year, he's gotten out there and got some work in.
No, I agree. Tatum, he's not worried about no type of contract security, team stability, none of those things that other people have to worry about. So he can make this move if he wants to. I don't see it benefiting them. I don't see them getting out of the East this year, even though I like the trade deadline move they did with Vucevic. I don't see them getting out of the East this year. So I think Tatum should sit out. But I understand the dude wanting to come back and hoop. That's what he does. He wants to come back and hoop. Let's look at a couple of these games here tonight that are coming on before we get out of here. Milwaukee, I want to not talk about this game, but I wanted to get your opinion on what you think about the Giannis, them trying to trade him, them coming out and saying he wants to trade, all these things, but he ends up eventually not being traded off the team, hurt his calf right before the trade deadline, so I didn't really think he was going to get traded anyway because of that injury. But what do you think about the future in Milwaukee with Giannis being potentially
Well,
on
I
his way
think
out?
he'll probably be moved this summer.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were no real good options for Giannis.
It wasn't.
He wanted to go to a playoff team, and the teams that probably wanted him. I think he has a no trade clause. He probably didn't want to go to Dallas.
Yeah.
Probably, you know what I mean?
Exactly. He's not going to Utah.
Yeah. I really like to see him in Houston, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
But what would you guys have to give up to get him? So that's
yeah, exactly. But I don't necessarily want to break up the team. Some people saying Rockets need to make a move at the deadline. I don't want to break the team up just because I think everybody's kind of following the Thunder plot right now of, hey, let's just try to get a star and let's just build a bunch of draft picks around this dude and see if we hit on these picks or not. I think that's sort of the direction. And I think that's the only way the Bucks will be able to rebuild, just like the Thunder. You're going to have to trade Giannis in order to get draft capital and build for the year. That's the main reason why he didn't get traded. Teams wanted to give up, 2 first-round picks and a player. The Bucks don't want that. We want 5 or 6 first-round picks. We want some pick swaps, and we want a player to come out. So in order to get that deal, you're going to have to wait till the summer for that deal to even be available. Another team that had trade talks and some trade situations with their future, the Memphis Grizzlies playing against the Warriors tonight. But the Grizzlies trade away Jaren Jackson Jr., but end up keeping Ja Morant because, according to a lot of reports and what I think as well, Ja Morant is just a kind of a devalued asset right now. He doesn't play games, whether that be because of suspension or injury. He's barely played in 2 or 3 years. From him being at the top of the mountain and having that interview, kind of notorious interview at this point with Malik Andrews where he said, oh, we're fine in the West. Well, I'm not worried about who will beat in the West. Let's just see, if we'll see Giannis in the final. Since then, they haven't done anything. They've actually gotten worse. He's gotten worse every single year, coupled with his off-the-court troubles, coupled with him shooting the worst he's ever shot in the NBA this year. What do you think about the future of Ja Morant?
If there's anybody that needs to change the scenery, it's definitely John Morant.
Yeah.
They'd like to work out I'm sure they would like to work out a straight-up trade for a guy like a Tyrese Maxey or someone like that. But I don't think those trades are available right now. So what I think is probably going to more likely is they're going to have to put some draft capital with John Morant and then trade him for a really young player or a declining old player.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's exactly because it's not like the Giannis deal where let's just wait in the summer. We can get a boatload of picks for Giannis. No one's giving you a boatload of picks for Ja. We don't know what he's going to feel like today. We don't know if he's going to play. He's been injury prone the last
whatever
2 or 3
the deal
years.
is, it's going to look somewhat similar to the Anthony Davis deal.
Yeah, I agree. We'll trade this in the pick. We'll get a young guy potentially or just get some picks in it but no blockbuster 5 first-round picks traded for Ja Morant. I think this is more of you got to go and try to get another player instead of trying to go get draft picks because no one's going to give up 4 or 5 first-round picks right now for Ja Morant with the way that he's playing, with his lack of playing since he's hurt or he's suspended. That's been the story for the last 2 or 3 years out there. So we'll see where the Ja Morant saga continues to go. Let's look at a couple of these games that are coming on here tonight. Atlanta versus Minnesota, that game getting ready to happen. Atlanta's traded away some of their pieces. Minnesota's kind of building up. I got Minnesota in this one. Who do you like with those two guys?
I like Minnesota as well. I think Minnesota's one of those teams that they're looking forward to making a playoff run.
Yeah.
And Atlanta's looking forward to vacation.
Yeah, seriously, I think that's pretty much the direction that both of these two teams are going. The night game that's coming on tonight on Peacock, the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Los Angeles Lakers. Before the game, I want to know what you think about the Lakers. You watch the Lakers a lot. You say you're a LeBron fan. What do you think about them kind of staying put during the trade deadline and saying we're going to move forward with the pieces of what we got?
I think there are no good options for them.
Yeah, it wasn't.
There weren't any good options. What they need, they really need a defensive big man.
Yes.
And there are none.
Yeah, exactly.
There are none. And so with that being the case, they just staying packed, getting healthy, whatever. I'm really looking forward to tonight's game. You think, okay, tonight with Luka being out, it'll be a problem. Well, I've seen them play without Luka the last game. The defense is worlds better without Luka in the lineup. It doesn't even look like the same team defensively. I don't know that if they have the ability to hold down Oklahoma City, but from a defensive standpoint, they're completely a different team with Luka out. Yeah. And for me he can't be that bad of a defensive player, but maybe he is.
I think he is that bad of a defensive player, but I don't think he's the first. Some people say, man, he's just the worst. You can't win with a guy like this, which I never agreed with. I think guys have always won with guys like this. It's the guys surrounding him, and what does that look like? The guys surrounding him, Allen Iverson wasn't just playing no crazy defense, but he had all defenders out there. Steph Curry has never played defense, but he's had a great team of defenders around him. The Lakers just don't have that right now. What they do have is more offensive firepower than maybe anybody in the league. That's what's going to make them so fun to watch when it gets in the playoffs, because we're not going to play no defense like that. But who are you going to stop over here with us? Are you going to stop LeBron? Are you going to stop Reeves? Luka's not even in the question of you stopping. He's getting 35. You can just forget about trying to stop Luka or whatever that is. So I think that's going to make it really interesting. Shai's not playing in this game tonight as well. I like the Lakers in this game. If you're going to say Luka's out, Shai is out, give me LeBron and Austin Reeves over J-Dub and Chet Holmgren. And as far as who wins this game tonight, I'll take the Lakers and what they do tonight. Oklahoma City's favored by 6.5, so maybe you can get in on the back end of some bets if you are going to parlay on that tonight. But we're out of time here today, folks. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us here on Centex Primetime. As we were able to cover a lot, we'll be back here throughout the week, breaking down more of the Super Bowl as we start to transition out of football season, not only into basketball season, but into NFL draft time, which I love. Get a chance to watch a lot of film on a lot of different guys.
Combine in a couple weeks.
Yeah, Combine coming on in a couple weeks. Free agency starting, I believe, next week, or maybe in a couple weeks as well. So
I think March 1st.
March 1st. So it's going to be a lot of NFL to talk about still, even though the game's going to be happening. We'll still have plenty of football to talk about. MCC will be back in action on Wednesday. They play against Weatherford at home, so if you're not able to make it to the Highland, come out or tune in on here on Centex Sports Network. We'll be able to cover all the action. More MCC softball and baseball coming on this week as well, so make sure you guys stay in tune for that. Subscribe to YouTube so you'll be able to catch all that action. Click the bell so don't even have to wonder when it happens. You'll get the notification every time that we go live here. Appreciate Rock for jumping on here with us here today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place right here. Make sure you guys tuning in for that. Signing off here today, Jalen Gillis. We'll see you next time. Everybody have a great evening.
Like a boost sneaker, we could tell a fake. Better off seeing pigs fly than to take a shot that you'll never make. Boy, you better go and meditate. Maybe then you'll see some better days. Now that I'm up at the top, I can never stop. I promise I'll never